In the past, we have taken a look at beloved manga getting cancelled and detailed some of the reasons certain manga have yet to be adapted into anime. However, what about those select few that not only get an original adaptation, but get Hollywood's favorite trope, the reboot treatment? Sometimes it's to retell a story that wasn't finished yet. Maybe it's been a very long time and a studio wants to breathe new life into a story. Or perhaps the original was simply before its time and would resonate better with today's audience. Heck, it might even just all be motivated by money. Whatever the reason, we are told a reboot gives a franchise's fans and those who never got into the original a second chance to enjoy someone's story. Let's start off by talking about the OG of shonen himself, Osamu Tezuka. Most fans know of Tezuka for the revolutionary Astro Boy franchise, but another of his big hits during the 1960s was Dororo, a historically charged fantasy manga that was adapted in 1969 as a part of the World Masterpiece Theater, a series that became famous for airing anime that adapted classic literature-based tales. As part of the show's 50th anniversary, Studio Mappa looked to revitalize the old school classic, full of sleek designs that were a far cry from the softer, classic style Tezuka used himself. This allowed for fast, high-octane, action-oriented animation, while also giving more depth to certain characters. The new show deviated from the original in many ways, so it might even be hard to call this a true reboot, but rather a love letter to the original work. Another such show that can be looked at in this light is TMS Entertainment's 50th anniversary commemoration of the wonderful boxing series Ashita no Joe, known by its new name of Megalobox. Once again, it really is not a reboot, because it takes a lot of what people enjoyed about the original source material and simply turns it into its own show that can stand on its own 2 feet. What makes both of these 50th anniversary shows so unique is that they almost encourage you to go back and check out the source material. Because if you like what you saw, you might be able to also find an appreciation for its original context. Perhaps the most popularized version of reboots comes from the shows that adopted a manga, and once they quickly found themselves catching up to the source material provided, the show had to decide whether it just ends or would make an anime-only ending. Hunter x Hunter ran into this problem once before and possibly twice after the 2012 version caught up to its source material yet again. Fruits Basket went the anime-only filler route when the 2001 version caught up to the material well before the manga concluded in 2006. This allowed the new, cleanly animated 2019 reboot to tell the beloved shoujo manga story to full completion. Now, perhaps the most famous of these is Fullmetal Alchemist, and its universally beloved successor, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. The original holds a close place in mine and probably a lot of people's hearts, but for me personally, I watched it with my beloved departed grandma. But the reboot obviously took everything great about the original and fleshed it out in every way possible. Great animation, tighter storytelling, and as is a theme with these shows, it contains a fully fleshed out story. With the exception of Hunter x Hunter in this case, typically these shows have the benefit the second time around of knowing how the manga ends, meaning they can pace episodes much easier and give more attention to detail when it comes to the storyboarding process of what is important to include in each episode, so as to give the show a more natural flow to its progression. The currently airing Rurouni Kenshin reboot will be the next show looking to get its chance to finish the story it started so many years ago. Another kind of popular form of the reboot is to take a source that has finished itself to conclusion in one way or another and give the show a new fancy updated version of it, such as Netflix's recent distribution of Shaman King. They don't have to change much to the show other than giving it an updated animation and possibly better pacing to the original work, but overall, when it comes to this type of reboot, most of the previous show's adaptations just stay in place. So now the main part I wanted to talk about in this video, which is what shows could desperately use a reboot? Not a second season, but rather a start from scratch. Well, looking at the long list of either unfinished, rushed, or possibly, as painful as it is to say, outdated shows anime has produced over the years, I have a few fitting each category that readily come to mind. In the unfinished category, 2 anime personally stand above the rest in my mind with Zatch Bell and Deadman Wonderland. Zatch had the case of catching up to its source material and was just never renewed for more seasons. And Deadman Wonderland was not only unfinished after a really great start in its lone 12-episode season, but it felt rushed, as if the studio knew beforehand that they would need to get as much as possible into 12 measly episodes, for a story that simply deserved much more. Speaking of being rushed into an anime-only ending, you can just look at Soul Eater, a show and manga so good that it got Fire Force a 3rd season. Okay, seriously though, this show deserves to get its conclusion, and perhaps a Brotherhood-esque reboot will let the show finally have what it has deserved for so long, rather than the ending we got to see unfold on our screens. Finally, we get to the outdated, and yeah, a ton of shows could use the great new animation treatment, but personally, one show above all others has teased us with new animation, story, or just possibly a full-on reboot for years. Yu Yu Hakusho. The original is a classic that defined the genre for decades now, and still to this day has a dedicated fan base that jumps at the hint of any new material that may come from this legendary show. The original is fantastic, but wouldn't you just want to see something you already love get a newer paint of coat? Look, all I'm saying is that if Hunter x Hunter can get a reboot, why not Togashi's other masterpiece? And that's all that we have for today's video, which, believe it or not, was inspired by a comment on one of our other videos. So, comment down below what things you'd like us to possibly cover in the future, and who knows, we might take your suggestion and just run with it. I've been Summers with Baka the Basics, and I'll see you the next time class is in session.